Hi, I'm Ferris Simon. I'm the founder and creator of BreedUp, which is a software that simplifies your breeding intelligence and eliminates the need for notepads and manual record keeping during the breeding season. Today, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to set up your seasons and groups. Seasons and groups are the backbone of the structure on how we operate on this platform. Think of seasons as just that. Maybe you might break your breeding seasons into actual calendar years, 2026, for example. Maybe you do it like I do it, 2026 spring, 2026 fall. However you internally manage this information within your herd and your operation will dictate what you consider a season. And a group is just that. It's a group within a season. Me personally, it would be ET group ones in my 2026 spring season. That's how I have it set up in my personal account. I'm going to show you how to set that up here. As you can see, this is the test account we created in the last video, and we don't have anything created here. And the system knows that. You're going to get this screen on your first login. Once you've activated your account, your subscription, you have no active seasons found. You need to create a new season or activate a season from the manage section. You can also create a new season, new group using the new button on the right. There's a lot of different ways to kind of accomplish the same thing depending on how you like to work within this program. So even if you have no seasons or no groups, you can go right here to this new group button and you can create a new group right now. So let's do that. So group name, we're going to call this tutorial 1. And we obviously don't have a season. So right here, we can create a new season, and that season name, we'll call it 2026 spring. You must choose a breeding method. As you can see, we have an options of AI, ET, IVF, or a mix of the two. The reason this is important is over here when we get into this protocol feature, your protocol and the way it's calculated and the way some of this other stuff is calculated throughout the application is based on what breeding group or what the method is, the breeding method within this group. Now, you might say, hey, I have a blend of the two. I might be doing some IVF. I might be doing some AI in this group. That is okay. I would select whatever is going to be the most prominent one or whatever heats you're trying to get the most dialed in that group. And you'll understand what I mean by that as we continue to discover the different features in this app. But for this group, let's just call it IVF embryo transfer. Now we can choose our breeding date based on either just picking the date that like our embryologist gave us. Like for example, I got a date on April 10th coming up for some transfers, and you'll see that it automatically updates our expected due date. If you like to work backwards and you're like, hey, I want to put some of the, I want my due date to be 1/1/27, it will automatically update your target breeding date. All of this gets fed into the protocols feature that we'll discuss in a later video. But you update these things back and forth, and it will update the other one as you go, depending on what your workflow is. If you switch this to artificial insemination, it'll update your breeding date. Your expected due date remains persistent. So in this scenario, we're going to do some IVF embryo transfer. We'll use this April 10th date, and that's given us January 11th, 2027 due date. This target transfer and breeding start time informs your protocol on what your cedar pull should be based on the protocols that are loaded in here. Again, this is all for stuff we'll go over later. And you can edit all this stuff too at different points in the future. But let's say your embryologist says, hey, I'm going to be there at 8 a.m. Make this 8 a.m. Once everything's right, click add group, and it saves the group. So group tutorial 1 is successfully added. If you click this button, it'll take you to the heats area of the app where you're going to be adding animal IDs, and we'll go over this in the next video. Here's the other way to add seasons and groups. So if you remember correctly, the initial message said that you go to the manage section. So this is the manage section right here. And we're going to pick, let's go season. This is the season we just created. Remember, we didn't have one when we created the group. And that season got assigned to this group. And if you click on the groups, you can see this season, spring 2026, group name, tutorial 1, breeding date, time, due date, method, all of this kind of stuff. Let's say we want to create a new season for the fall. We're going to do that right here. Fall 2026. Create. So as you can see, there's a delete button here on this row. There's not one on the spring 2026. There's some protective features in this app, such as this right here, where if that season has groups, you cannot delete it and delete the underlying groups. So same thing here. If you go to the groups section, you can do new group, and let's go tutorial 2. Let's call this, let's put this one in the fall 2026. We'll call this one AI. We'll just leave this stuff blank, add group. Let's go back to the manage area. And you see on this groups, we just created this group. And if you go to the seasons, now you cannot delete that. You might be asking, what are these archive buttons for? So when we, throughout the app, select season, select group, the archive button will show or not show these options in these drop downs. So right now you see both these options. If we go back to manage, and let's say we're going to archive fall 2026, go back to heats, no longer there. And it's just a way to cleanly keep your data organized so that, you know, as you use this for multiple groups, multiple seasons, you don't have this long list of stuff you have to sort through each time. It just doesn't delete your information. It just hides it from this drop down here so you can kind of keep it to the seasons and groups that you're actually working on. One last thing, in each of these, as mentioned, depending on whether you have heats, protocols assigned, a bunch of kind of underlying things here, when you edit, click the edit button, you can change anything in here. So you could call this tutorial 15. We could change the breeding date to the 7th. You see it updates the due date, and we could change this to AI if we want. Again, changes the breeding date, and we can save that, and it'll update any protocols that are associated with it. It'll also, if there's already heats in this group, it'll change the method of those cows in that group or those animals in that group to the AI method. This transfer button, we can move this to any active season. So right now there's only spring 2026. If we go back to our seasons and we go to our archive seasons and we reactivate this one, let's go back to our groups that are active, and we want to move this tutorial group into the fall one. There you go. Now we only have fall groups, right? Now we want to move it back. Tutorial 15, transfer. Here you go. So it's just kind of a way to organize your things, move things around in the event maybe you don't get it put in the right way the first time. You want to edit it, things change. Hey, our breeding date, our breeding time has changed. This is going to be 9 a.m. instead of 8:45 p.m. It'll update the associated protocols, etc. That's all for today. Thank you for joining. In our next tutorial, we'll go through how we add cows and heats to this. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.